Seriously, would you ever move to Cleveland? Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees. Well, the Yankees are in the American League Championship Series, as we know, taking first two games in the Bronx. At this point right now, the series will move over to Cleveland there. So I'm going to jump back a little bit. I know it's a little bit of old news, but just kind of do a quick examination of the World Series since the last episode, we'll kind of, the series at that point was 1-1 there. Kind of the important points there, and of course, then we'll bridge over to the Cleveland series where games 1 and 2, maybe not a textbook type of Yankee wins, but of course in the postseason you'll take the wins nevertheless. But we'll examine both games 1 and 2 there. Plus where I think where the series is going to go moving forward, because we got 3, 4, 5 now in Cleveland where the Yankees have to go on the road there. And all the Yankees need, again, with the remaining 5 games at least available for this series, is win 2 out of those 5 there, and the Yankees are in. So again, good news for the Yankees to that. So we'll look at all that stuff, and of course announce that there's a couple possible Gold Glove award recipients on this team there. So we'll go over the 3 names mentioned, and one of them who out of the 3 maybe has the best chance. We'll kind of look at his stats. A little hint there, he kind of got one last season, but nevertheless we'll get into other stuff. But before we get started, as you know, we got the rest of the postseason to go, and you don't want to wait a whole week for a new episode and see how I'm going to say about things. You want to get my takes right away, so make sure wherever you get your favorite podcast, look for Section 420 Talkin Yankees, the podcast. Again, get my takes after every game, and of course afterwards, hopefully we're holding up a World Series trophy. But nevertheless, we'll look into the offseason as well as that. A lot to talk about. Do the Yankees re-sign Soto? Do the Yankees now re-sign Gleyber? Because look at great postseason he's having, especially now in this round in Cleveland there, and plus all the cool stuff there. So make sure you're a podcast subscriber, and if it's your first time, we just happen to find this video on YouTube, and hey, I like this stuff, I want to get more of it. Make sure you subscribe there as well. And if you just happen to be flipping through the channels, like, hey, this thing's cool as well. Now you got double duty to do. You got to go to YouTube, subscribe there, and then wherever you get your favorite audio podcast, subscribe there as well. Get all the content. Now, the last episode here, since we left off, the Yankees were at 1-1 in that series against the Royals, and then it went over into Kansas City where the Yankees were able to finish off that series, winning the next 2 games with a decent start by Clark Schmidt there, and then most importantly, Garrett Cole redeeming himself for the poor start in Game 1. But before I look at the series itself, what was the most important of it? It was this kind of the reemergence of a couple of players there, but overall, collectively, you would say what was the MVP? It was clearly collectively the Yankee bullpen altogether. Clay Holmes, in a different role, but again, just as dominating as he was when he was at his best as a closer there. But this collectively the bullpen for the Yankees, and of course Luke Weaver, who we weren't sure how he was going to be able to handle this. You kind of throwing a young guy out there into the lion's den, and since they handed the job over to him in September there, he's been absolutely flawless, and he continued that throughout this Royal Series there. So you say yes, collectively the Yankee bullpen, of course Luke Weaver as well. Another important was kind of the rejuvenation of Giancarlo Stanton. Really came alive there, especially a huge Game 3 home run in Game 3 there. The game scored tied 2-2 there. Puts him again with a moonshot to left field, and the Yankees are able to hold on to the win there. And at that point, you figure like with Cole coming on the mound the next game for Game 4, the Yankees had this one in the bag there, and he also had a big RBI in that Game 4 as well. So these are the key pieces that you would take over into the Cleveland series. And of course, I have to also mention Gleyber Torres, almost like growing up before our eyes there. I know he's been in the league for 6-7 years there, but throughout the World Series, and really since Boone put him in that back of that leadoff spot, Boone was kind of searching for that really the whole season. Gave it to Gleyber in September there, and really since then, Gleyber has been flourishing. A couple episodes here, we did go over his OPS, and his numbers like that just really shot up. Not like crazy with the bad average, but just him getting on base, working the count, and you just saw that in the World Series. A different version of Gleyber Torres than we've seen during the regular season. Again, just working the counts, swinging at smart pitches, taking his walks. He did contribute a 2-run home run in Game 1 there. So, so if I wanted to maybe, say what was the big thing, say Yankee bullpen won, which, little parentheses, Weaver and Holmes kind of good in their new roles they got now. Giancarlo Stanton kind of rejuvenated. He seemed like he was a statue from pretty much the second half of this season. Again, looking like a much more like the MVP player from many years ago. And of course, Gleyber Torres, again, after we all just want this guy shipped out of town there, and who knows if he comes back or not there, but he's, if you're going to make a case to get a long-term deal, get re-signed by the Yankees, he's making that now. So those are the 3 key pieces, and as you'll see as we examine games 1 and 2, those would, again, play big at the start of the American League Championship Series. Now, if you were subscribed to my audio podcast, you would kind of have what my feelings were before this series even started against Cleveland, where I felt the Yankees had an excellent chance. Mainly because it's recent history. I mean, look at this season. The Yankees were 4-2 against them during the regular season, and I kind of stressed a little bit. Really should have been 5-1 because one of those games was that Sunday game. It was that afternoon game where the Yankees came back against Class A. But of course, Holmes did pitch in the 9th inning. I guess Boone didn't want to extend them for another inning there, so they went with Ferguson there in the 10th inning, and unfortunately, Ferguson, was just absolutely terrible there. Blew the lead and ended up blowing the game. The Yankees have been losing that game in a walk-off. But other than that, if you look at the 6 games, really the Yankees should have been 5-1 there. So that's definitely a sort of level of dominance. And this is sort of the way the Yankees played the entire American League Central this season. Very dominating against them. So the fact that happened, the fact that they, again, beat the Royals there like that, and this just the history with Cleveland very recently, you felt good about the Yankees. And you can even go to 2022, 2 seasons ago, where a lot of the rosters, a lot of the same guys still in the Yankees. I know it's not exactly the same team because now you got Soto and you got some other players, and Stanton's much healthier than he was 2 seasons ago. But again, a lot of those Cleveland players with Quan, Jose Ramirez, Naylor. I mean, again, a lot of those same guys. So it was still pretty much the same rosters from two seasons ago, not entirely, and the Yankees handled them, able to defeat them. So with all that being said, there, you just like the Yankees' chances going into the series. Do have to put a number on the games there. Again, obviously at the time I didn't know exactly how they would handle the Bronx there, but this is the type of series you figure go 5 to maybe 6 games. I don't think this is going to be like a 7-game nail biter. I just don't see that happening. And just the fact that now the Yankees have taken the first 2, very good opportunity that they could win it in Cleveland, but I could very well just see, even if they drop 2 in Cleveland, I feel very comfortable with them at Game 6, home in the Bronx, taking it there. Now, as for the rosters themselves, a little different from the divisional series. Remember, the divisional series, there was no Rizzo because, again, he was dealing with the fractured fingers, and no Stroman just because really wasn't any role for him. Well, different this time around. This time Boone adding both Rizzo and Stroman. I guess Rizzo now having some time away to heal his fingers a little bit. Again, it's never going to be fully healed against somebody who's going to play with the pain, but the division series was too soon for him. So bringing him back there, we're like, okay. And maybe it doesn't really matter as much because, whether it was him or Rice, because they didn't even use Rice at all. In fact, they didn't even use Jason Dominguez at all. Neither of them got even one at bat in a divisional series. So it just seemed maybe that they was going to be on the outs anyway. It was probably going to be Rizzo. If he's Rizzo's back, then it was just going to be Rizzo's job. So, you shouldn't be surprised there. And Stroman, okay. Then Nestor Cortez, again, had an MRI to end the season. Looks like, nothing structurally damaged. Now, he did throw a bullpen session a couple of days before the Cleveland series started, but they felt he wasn't ready yet to be, available for that series. So they said maybe the World Series, if the Yankees get onto the next level, then maybe Nestor could be available. So by process elimination and stuff like that, I guess they decided to go with Stroman, which, okay, but you're probably not going to see him anyway. Again, he's just someone who's going to maybe come out if, let's say, Clark Schmidt or Luis Gil falter a little bit in games 3 or 4, you need a couple extra innings. Okay, maybe you see him there, or maybe if the Yankees get one of these like extra inning marathon games and you just need someone because you spent your bullpen out and you need somebody to give you 3 or 4 innings, then maybe there'll be a role for Stroman there. But overall, there's a very good chance you don't even see Stroman in the series, and if you do, it's probably bad news there. And if I had to think of all the games as the way things are right now, it might be that Game 4 with Luis Gil, where, we don't want to jump too far ahead with that, but, as we know the way he is, sometimes he comes out. He hasn't pitched in almost 2.5 weeks. He does prone to be wild there, but if his stuff is on, he's good. He can be filthy, but also he can be wild as well. So maybe Stroman gets an opportunity there. So that's really the 2 biggest differences. And with Rizzo, he did not have a good season. Again, fractured his arm, out for a while, then fractures the fingers. It was really hard what to expect from him. Now, he's actually been a little better than I thought he would be, but you just figured Boone would go to him just because, again, he has the playoffs experience. He's been here a couple of years. He's one of the guys, quote unquote. He does have a World Series ring. And at first base, even if he's a little bit diminished, again, and I always say this, you always like the left-handed first baseman there, just with the angles in the throw and scooping up the ball on pickoff plays. It's much more beneficial to have a left-handed first baseman there. And of course, with Rizzo's resume, and again, he has a Gold Glove in his back pocket there. Even if he's a little hobbled a little bit, not himself, there's probably the better chance in this kind of merry-go-round of John Birdie and Oswaldo Cabrera. Offensively, it's probably all a wash, but if Rizzo's defense will be better than those 2 options there, then you might as well just go with Rizzo. So with Game 1, it was Carlos Rodon versus Alex Cobb. And of course, Rodon, we know his last start against the Royals started off great. And in fact, that first inning, I thought he was going to do something special that night. Just the way he punched all 3 guys out. He was pumping his fist. He was yelling. He was kicking and screaming. Unfortunately, he seemed to burn himself out by the 4th inning. He didn't have it anymore. He lost control of the fastball. He had the velocity, but he could not aim it at all. And then from there, he became predictable. And the Royals were able to just single him to death, where they just had to pull him out of the game. Again, the Yankees disappointingly lose that game by a score of 4-2. So you say, all right, now how's Rodon going to respond to this? He had himself overall good season. We know the first season last year was not good for him. And we know his emotions. He's out there. He's just done some things. Blowing kisses to Yankee fans last season. So can he bottle up his emotions? Can he actually have a good performance? Well, yes. The answer is yes. He finally did. So he actually came out on top and had probably I don't say it was a special game there, but again a good solid just to see what we signed this guy for all his money to do this in a game 2 to back up Cole. Can he do it? Well, can he answer the question? Yes, he can. Really good, strong performance from him. 6 innings there. Just almost, the strikeout stuff was just as almost dominating as the game against the Royals there. But again, he didn't lose himself. He was able to give the Yankees 6 good innings there. 9 strikeouts, just scattered 3 hits, 1 earned run by a home run by Rukio there. But other than that, he was absolutely dominating. The final out in the 6th inning, needed a little help from Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge kind of flagging down what might have been a double in the gap for Jose Ramirez, but at the end of the day, you got 6 strong innings from Rodon there. So you just wanted to see that. He could do it there, but the fact that he had a shot there against the Royals and he was able to finish the job there, but was able to finish the job against Cleveland in that big moment, in a big spot there. So it gives you a lot more confidence, the rest of the way that he can handle this. And on the other side, you just like the Yankees' chances against Alex Cobb. And man, look, we've seen this guy for a million years. Remember him back in the Tampa Day. Again, always a good effective pitcher, Again, he doesn't blow you away with a fastball. A lot of him, it's a lot of splitters, sliders, 2-seam fastballs, making his beat junk under the ground there. But unfortunately, looked like even before the start of this game, he was a little bit hobbled. Cleveland actually obtained him while he was still on the IL there, which is not always a good thing. But nevertheless, was in this game, cleared a pitch, but unfortunately, he was dealing with a blister issue and a missing nail on his index finger. And then even after the game, they basically had to put him back on the IL again. So he's pretty much done for the postseason. So no matter what happens with Cleveland, he's out anyway. So the Yankees kind of had this hobbled guy that would tee off on there. Now, in the first inning, they bothered a little bit with the Yankees because they started off the game. Torres and Soto smoked 2 balls there, hit them hard there. So, wow, the Yankees are going to do something special this game. But unfortunately, the Yankees were able to cash in there. Kind of continuation of Judge not coming through, ended up striking out there, and the Yankees do zilch with that game. But, you just knew it was a little something different. The body language was different than maybe that first game against the Royals where the Yankees left a million guys on base. You just figure with Cobb, just the way he was, and this again, he's kind of been around, just kind of a little bit long in the tooth, and did not look like himself. Was not getting enough of those close calls at the home plate there. You figure the Yankees will tee off on him eventually, so you weren't worried, and then eventually did come to fruition. And then, of course, Cleveland had to go in the bullpen early there, going with Joey Cantillo, who he just looked totally, he wasn't scared, but he could just not find the strike zone at all. Ended up spiking the ball a bunch of times, and the Yankees got a couple of runs just from the fact of him just throwing the ball in the dirt. So the Yankees didn't have to swing the bat there. And before you knew it, the game was 3-0. Judge later on would add a sacrifice fly there. At least, okay, it's not a home run at that point, and you still feel Judge is struggling in the postseason. But, if you could just do a little pauses like that, you figure it might build to something else, and it would in game 2. But then if the Yankees at the point build themselves up there, a 4-0 lead. And really at that point, again, you felt the Yankees were in control the whole way. Cleveland threatened a little bit in the bottom of the 8th inning. The Yankees had to go to Weaver a little bit sooner than they wanted to. Weaver coming on with 1 out and 2 men on. Weaver able to get a strikeout to a pinch hitter there, and they get the dangerous Jose Ramirez, which at that point the score was 5-2 and 2 runners on. I meant technically he could hit a 3-run home run to tie the game there, but instead Weaver able to get Ramirez to bounce out there, and then Yankee Stadium, the fans able to breathe a sigh of relief. And then, of course, we were able to finish the 9th inning strong with a couple of punch-outs as well. So had to throw a lot of pitches. Boone went to him a little bit earlier than he wanted to, but overall, again, you never really felt the Yankees were in trouble there, especially just the beginning of this with Cobb versus Rodon. Just that matchup, just the beginning of that in the first few innings, the way it went, and then the fact that Cleveland had to go to the bullpen so early there. Again, he's like the Yankees' chances, and it was mainly sloppy Cleveland pitching more than anything else that helped the Yankees. But of course, Stanton, as I mentioned during the Royal Series, his bat came alive. Well, he carried that into Game 1. Almost had a home run against Cobb in his first at bat with a couple of runners on. Took the ball to the warning trap. But again, it was the swirling winds at Yankee Stadium in the fall there kind of probably kept that in. And maybe if it was August, that ball would have been over the wall. But nevertheless, Stanton later in the game, with the score at the point 4-2, gave the Yankees a little bit more breathing room with a solo home run that increased the lead 5-2. Again, the Yankees would go all the way there. And and as I mentioned before with the wins, this was really Game 1 was kind of the first cold New York, what you call fall classic type of weather. Even in September and early October, still was kind of warm in New York. York, but definitely fall kicked in. The swirling winds, the cold weather, the bitterness, and you see it play with some of the, early on in that game, some of the pop-ups and flyouts there. Some of the outfielders were struggling a little bit there, and as mentioned before, probably perhaps kept a home run ball from Stanton there in the first inning, but the one he hit later in the game there was one of those Giancarlo Stanton, no doubt about it, line drive home runs where he hits like a low line drive where it doesn't matter really what the wind is. Went 430 feet, almost went into the left field bleachers, but bounced, hit the wall, and went into the opposing team's bullpen there. So it looks like Giancarlo Stanton's on, and the Yankees haven't had this sort of healthy, dominant type of stand in the postseason quite a while. We remember back in 2019, he got off to a great start there, but then in the Houston series, tweaked his Achilles running to first base, and they had to shut him down for the rest of the series, so he wasn't available, but he got off to a great start. 2020, the bubble COVID series against Cleveland. Again, he was very dominant. He hit some big moonshot home runs against both Cleveland and Tampa, but unfortunately, the Yankees got bounced. 21, he was not healthy, and 22, even though he did have a big 3-run home run in Game 5 that to give the Yankees a lead, again, he was not healthy at all, so now we're seeing a much healthy version of Stanton, and he looks locked in, and even right now in the postseason, he looks more locked in and more dangerous than Judge does right now there. So it's good to see Stanton carry that over, and so that puts away for Game 1. So now the Yankees would move with 1-0 in the series to have their ace ready for Game 2, and you like the Yankees' chances of taking a 2-game advantage in this series. So the Yankees enter Game 2 with the 1-0 lead in the series, and of course with your ace on the mound, Garrett Cole, off that strong start in Game 4 to close out the Royals series. On the mound again, you like your chances up against Trevor Bybee, who, had himself a nice season there. He's got the long hair, got the Noah Syndergaard thing going for him, 25 years old. Had a 12-8 record with an ERA under 3 there, so you figure, hey, this could be some tough competition for Cole. But for him, he really didn't last long, and it was another situation where Cleveland yet again had to go to the bullpen early. And again, this is why I like this matchup against the Yankees of Cleveland. Maybe things will be different in Cleveland, but we just see this first 2 games here of the Yankees just wearing their starters out immediately and them having to go into the bullpen, and it's just not sustainable to keep doing that in the 3rd or 4th inning of these games, especially in the postseason. Even if you have a great bullpen like Cleveland does, and I know you want to maybe showcase it, and then maybe that's your strength there, but if you can't get 4 or 5 innings out of your starter, and that was the first 2 games there, it's just hard to see how they're going to last, because the Yankees, what we've seen during the Royals series, the amount of walks they've taken, and again, the first 2 games of this series, the Yankees take their walks. It kind of, it's not as good as the old days with like O'Neill and Bernie and Jeter, where those other guys just grinded other teams to death there, but pretty close, because that's the same philosophy. The Yankees kind of grind these guys and get the starters out. And, back in the day, though, bullpens weren't as strong as they are now, but that was kind of the difference. But you kind of see in that same mentality, that Soto mentality of just grinding out these at-bats. And some sloppy play by Cleveland, which is, you don't expect that. A simple infield pop-up, which put a couple of runners on. The Yankees were able to take advantage of that early on. You even got Verdugo going opposite field on a hit there. Really his first big hit since the Game 1 hit, the go-ahead hit of the Royals series there. So, the Yankees, before you knew it, handed Garrett Cole a 3-0 lead. And Cole, first 2 innings seemed strong. Again, the velocity was there, but as you saw a little bit, maybe this was kind of Cleveland finally, and the Guardians, they kind of fighting their way back a little bit. Started to give Cole some problems in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th inning there. Now, Cole was able to get out of those jams. Even in the 4th inning, it had a bases-loaded situation. But, Rukio hit the home run against Rodon the game before. Cole able to get a cold 3rd strike on a curveball that just nicked the outside part of the plate there. Cole able to get out of jam. But unfortunately, Cole would run into trouble again in the 5th inning, would not be able to get out of it, would surrender a run. He had Josh Naylor up, bases loaded with nobody out, with 1 swing. Then he could turn a 3-0 Yankee lead to a 4-3 Yankee deficit. But nevertheless, Cole able to just battle Naylor, get a pop up to right field where, yes, they got to sacrifice a fly, they got to run in, but you would trade that in that situation, because again, that guy gets into one, especially at Yankee Stadium, he could put a 4th spot on the board there, so you almost feel lucky there. So then, of course, Boone having to go to his new jack of all trades, Clay Holmes. And now it's funny with Holmes, even though he's not the closer, but he's still Boone still puts him in high leverage pressure situations. So maybe just the experience as a closer helps him with that. Able to put out the fire there, gets a ground out. Yes, another run scores, but keeps the score at 3-2 at that point. And that was really the one moment there that the Yankees were bending, but they didn't break. And then the Yankees would kind of build up from there. And then kind of probably the second half of the game was a little bit of a laugh, or much more comfortable. But that was the moment where you maybe Cleveland's going to respond here. And then at that point, point, it's a little worrisome because if Cleveland takes game 2, the Yankees are in problem because now you're 1-1. You go into Cleveland where now they have the advantage because the next 3 games are at home. And as I mentioned before, you're starting Clark Schmidt game 3 and Louis Seal game 4. You're not sure what you're going to get out of them. And very possibly you're in a situation where now you're down 2-1, or you maybe get eliminated the next 2 games, which would be a disaster for the Yankees. So I just believe it was so important for the Yankees to take these first 2 games, and they did there. Now, a crucial part of this game, you had 2 runners on, nobody out with Anthony Rizzo up, and Jazz had one of his, head bloopers there. And Jazz, overall has not been, defensively he's been great, he's been fine holding down the fort there, but offensively and in the situation on the bags here, not smart baseball. Now, supposedly him and Volpe were getting ready for a double steal, so that was according to Boone, that's what Boone said after the game, but Jazz unfortunately caught a little too far off base, and the left-hander Sobrowski able to turn around, pick him off second base. They went to a replay. I don't know why they bothered. I mean, he clearly got tagged in the chest, but he wasn't close to the base there. It wasn't like that game 1 against the Royals where he had the heel slide in there where it was a kind of 50-50 call. This was clearly out, but I guess maybe since Boone had 2 challenges, might as well just use it. You got nothing to lose. Challenge it. The call will stand there. And this was an important part because I figured this is where Rizzo actually saved Jazz's bacon, because if the Yankees would have came out of that, 2 runners on, nobody out, and not score anything, if the Yankees somehow lost that game, that would have been a disaster for Jazz. I mean, they would have just been killing him for that. But Rizzo picked him up right after that, smoked the ball to right field. It got kicked down around there, and Anthony Volpe, as we know, runs well, can steal bases there. Able to score from first base, got even held up a little bit at third base, but once the ball was kicked around there in right field, able to score easily and give the Yankees a 4-2 lead. And to me, that was the point where the game was won. I know the score will be a little different later on there, but that was the point there. The Yankees tacking on that extra run there, I think it helpful, because if you kept Cleveland around a little bit, you kind of felt maybe they might get to one of the Yankee relievers there, which, again, so far, the Yankee bullpen has been fabulous holding down the fort there. So very important there. And for Rizzo, it's between game 1 and 2, I don't know what it is. He smoked some balls in game 1. Definitely smoked that ball in game 2. His hitting has actually been better with the fractured fingers. I don't know what it is, but he's been hitting the ball better these first 2 games against Cleveland than I would say the almost entire regular season, where he kind of looked like a funk, still dealing maybe with the concussion issues of last season, where, again, he's looked out of it. His swing has actually been really good so far, so that's good news for the Yankees. Now, in game 1, they had to take him out early. According to him, he went to Boone, or Boone saw this is situation and just felt a little fatigued, which you got to understand. I mean, he hadn't played baseball. Again, there's no minors anymore. There's no spring training or winter league for him to go to. So his last game was that second to last game of the regular season, where he actually got hit in the hand and fractured his fingers there. So he went almost like 2 or 3 weeks without even playing any baseball. So I guess maybe just putting him in there and the whole thing with the drama of the playoffs and physically now playing a game, he needed a spell in game 1 there, so put Oswaldo Cabrera there in the 9th inning. But it was nothing that carried over, and possibly could have dealing also maybe the pain in his fingers, maybe just pain tolerance issue. Maybe they wanted to ice him up sooner. All possible. The Yankees at the point had a 3-run lead, so why not? It doesn't kill you to take him out and put Oswaldo Cabrera in. But for game 2, able to play it the whole way and had that pivotal hit. But another important moment came just a little bit soon after that. Judge with the man on, and we all know what Judge has not been a good postseason. Past couple of seasons for Judge had not been postseason. Again, just for such a great player, doing historically bad in postseason, a lot of strikeouts. Kind of going out of the zone, not looking like himself in most cases there. But we have seen his swing get a little bit better. Again, had a couple good swings in the Royal Series. And then, of course, games 1 and 2, able to contribute with sacrifice fly. So he was just getting closer, and then finally connected on a 95-mile-per-hour fastball, sending way out deep to center field there. A monkey off his back. I mean, the crowd exploded just because what it meant for him, what it meant for the crowd, just to keep everyone quiet, to talk about his postseason demon. So I'm not going to say he's going to be brilliant the rest of the way there, or Mickey Mantle or Bernie Williams in the playoffs after that. But nevertheless, able to get off the schneid there, get that first home run, and at the point, give the Yankees a 6-2 cushion where he felt, again, the game was over there. It was really over with that Rizzo double that got in Volpe, but nevertheless, that sealed the deal for the Yankees, and they could just confidently go the rest of the way. And also got to give a shout out to Tim Hill, right after that situation where in the 5th inning where Cleveland was threatening. Hill came out in the 6th inning and just pretty put down Cleveland 1-2-3 there. And you figure maybe if you have a strong 5th inning, they come out strong in the 6th inning. That wasn't the case. Hill actually came out and just shut that down and really put out the fire there. And then right after, you get the Judge 2-run home run to really seal the deal. Now, a little interesting decision in the 9th inning. Now, at that point, it's 6-2. The Yankees have a 4-run lead. Now, Boone decided to go with Luke Weaver for the last 3 outs. I didn't love the idea. I know, look, you go playoffs, you go for the jugular, don't mess around. I get it, so I don't hate the idea, but a 4-run lead there. Weaver had thrown a lot of pitches so far in the Royals series. He'd thrown a lot of pitches just the day before in Game 1, and he had to get a 5-out save, and it got out of a major jam there in the 8th. That's got to tax you a lot, and now you're going to use him just for a situation where you didn't really have to use him. I would, now, they could have extended Canely maybe, but no. But I think if they would have gone fresh with Ian Hamilton and say, hey, look, Ian Hamilton, it's your inning, but if one guy gets on, we're yanking you out, then we're going to Weaver. I think that would have been the better decision. And maybe even if Hamilton gives up a run there, which Weaver would end up giving a run there, I don't think it was better off to give Weaver that game off, because then you have a game off between games 2 and 3. So if Weaver has to pitch game 2, essentially, you give him 2 days off the rest of his arm, because in Cleveland, you got 3 games in a row. And now, you'd rather have Weaver a little rested, because you have a situation where you might need him all 3 games in a row there. So now he's getting taxed a lot. He's throwing a lot of pitches. And more importantly, they're seeing him more. So I know Weaver's been very dominating, but if you clearly keep seeing him over and over and over again, they might pick up on something. They might time his breaking ball. They might time his fastball. And you saw what happened in the 9th inning there. Jose Ramirez, who, similar to Judge, having had postseason issues of his own, going 3 for 23 there, finally hits a home run off a changeup, deposited into right field. At that point, cuts the score to 6-3. You weren't worried. This is sort of those days where you pitch the score. You're not going to walk guys when you have a 4-run lead. But still, now the fact that Ramirez has that nugget in his head, hey, I took this guy deep. Now, if there's a situation in Cleveland where Weaver's on and Ramirez at plate and he's got a couple of runners on it, now he's going to be more confident against Weaver. So that's why I didn't love the move of bringing Weaver out. I would rather just bring in Hamilton. He's fresh, not used. He hasn't pitched since the Royal Series. Could he be sloppy? Possibly, yeah. But I just thought we threw too many pitches there, so I didn't love the idea. But nevertheless, I can't complain with Boone. So far, he's pushed all the right buttons. All the guys he brought out of the bullpen, everything's been perfect. The fact is going back to Rizzo, and the fact is, maybe Verdugo hasn't been lighting up the scoreboard there, but it's worked out for him. He's gotten some big hits, playing a sound left field there. So as much as we all want to see Jason Dominguez, it looks like that's just not going to happen at all. So maybe we just not even talk about it at this point there. But nevertheless, Boone's been pushing all the right buttons, so can't kill him with that. And so now the Yankees at this point have a 2-0 series lead, and now again we'll move on to Cleveland. So you might have heard the Yankees got a few nominees for the Gold Glove there. Now, one of them, Anthony Volpe, who got it last season for the Yankees at shortstop. 2 other ones was Verdugo, as I mentioned before, playing good left field for the Yankees. And, of course, in right field, Juan Soto. I think the Juan Soto one is more just the name itself. But of the 3, I think Volpe might have the best chance. And really, his numbers from last season, almost spot on and just a little bit better. Has 1 less error than he had so far last season. Played 3 more games. Fielding percentage 2% higher there. Had 5 more double plays and about 30 more putouts. Only thing he didn't do as much is assists, or just down by 10 there. But his numbers this season as a fielder is much better than last season when he won the glove. So very good chance he gets it again for 2024. So that's the episode. The Yankees are off to a good start, taking games 1 and 2 in the Bronx. Again, maybe a little bit of sloppy baseball, maybe some ideal baseball, maybe got some help from poor Cleveland pitching, but nevertheless, Yankees are also getting some big hits, so it wasn't just handed to them. They also earned it as well, and now the series will move on to Cleveland after an off day, and of course, games 3, 4, and 5 in a row there, so no off days there, so Boone has to be careful how he manages the bullpen. You can't tax guys too much. First 2 games there, Clark Schmidt, who again had a good start against the Royals. Again, couldn't get out of the 5th inning there, but it really wasn't his fault. You have him for game 3, game 4. Really, we don't know what we're going to get at Luis Hill for Game 4. So that could just be totally a full kind of all hands on deck bullpen type of Tampa Bay game. Maybe Luis Hill and goes 2 innings there. Who knows what we're going to get with that. Maybe almost chalk that up as a loss. Then, of course, Game 5, we have Rendon back. A strong start from his Game 1. Again, he's pitched in, before he was with San Francisco, pitched in the AL Central. So I'm sure he's comfortable on the mound in Cleveland. And then, of course, the Yankees will go on to see who wins the series between the Mets and the Dodgers there, and we could possibly have another Subway Series.